What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Division 2 video. And today we're going to be talking about the PTS Phase 2. There's actually some pretty cool details in these patch notes that is currently being tested. If you guys don't know, there's a PTS going on. We had Phase 1. This is only on PC. It's just a testing phase. And then once the patch is finalized, it will come to console, PC, and Xbox. Right now, this is just a testing phase. Nothing you get on here, you keep. I had a couple people ask that. Well, why does PC get this? It's just a testing phase. Once they finish testing it, nobody keeps anything from the PTS. Everybody starts with the same stuff. It's just to test out the gear. So just wanted to clear that up. I heard a couple people in the last video that I posted about patch notes coming up. They were asking about it. So let's get into it. Let's get into what they're focusing on Phase 2, which was actually pretty surprising. And you guys might actually be happy about it. So the things that they wanted to focus on, there were 4 hot topics they were focusing Phase 2 on. That's new gear and exotic balances, which we have already talked about on this channel, that exotics are really underperforming, underwhelming. They don't do as much damage as some of the regular high-end weapons with good talents. Weapon damage overall balance, and then loot. So how often you get good loot, bad loot, and they don't want you to really suffer when you play these higher difficulties to get that bad loot, right? And then they did say the following content will be disabled during the title update 10 PTS. So in case you guys know, don't worry, there's no season 2 and there's no raid to Operation Iron Horse for anybody to see, right? So for gear, they did talk about a lot of things. The attributes: incoming repairs no longer increase the amount of armor repaired by armor kits, talents, or gear set effects. So incoming repairs no longer increases the amount of armor repair by armor kits, talents, or gear sets. So no longer will incoming repairs give you any kind of benefit from that. So that's going to be more for when somebody heals you. And that's what I'm getting on there. See, it says incoming repairs was always meant to be a defensive attribute equivalent to repair skills, so that players could further enhance the amount of healing they receive from their skills or group healers. So from their skills or group healers, where the incoming repair is going to really be good. So all of the sidearms got a huge buff. So we had a double barrel shotgun get a buff, the 5.86 Magnum, the Police Magnum, the Desert Eagle, the first wave, the custom PF45. If you look, all of these have gotten a damage buff. Some go from up to 68%. Some just got like a little one at 6%, 7%, but some got 68%, which is crazy. So the Magnums are going to actually be usable now, I think. So we'll see how that is. And then the double barrel sawed-off shotgun, optimum range got reduced though. So it reduced to 8 meters from 11 meters. So you can't blast people across the map with it. So the exotics, let's talk about exotics, because we've always talked about on this channel how exotics are just more collector's items, right? My last video, I talked about exotics. I just talked about how they are collector's items. So we look at the bighorn, right? So we have the bighorn, damage is increased by 11%, okay? And then they added something to it, right? A functionality to it. So that provides additional headshot damage. So let's see, the full talent is now when scoped switches to semi-automatic fire mode, which has always been there, dealing 450% weapon damage with each shot. New headshots grant 1% headshot damage, stacks up to 50 times, resets to 0 at full stacks. So you can have almost up to 50% extra headshot damage on the bighorn. So they are trying to tweak this. They want people to use it right now. People get it and it goes straight to the stash. The Eagle Bearer, the damage is increased by 7.8%. So maybe we're going to feel like the Eagle Bearer back in the day, because we know that with the talent being nerfed, more being a defensive talent, I want to say, it needed something to it. So with that 7.8%, I would like to see what the damage looks like on a God Roll build built around ARs, right? So the Chameleon, this is the one that a lot of people really wanted to see buffed because it's so underperforming. Damage increased by 32.8%. This is crazy. I can't wait to see what this actually does. I don't have access to the PTS right now, but the Chameleon is something that I do want to see people test. Added functionality that retains your current buffs to the next combat encounter when combat ends. Full talent is now. So that they're going to show the full talent's right here, but they added a functionality that retains your current buffs to the next combat. So you don't go when you go out of combat, you don't lose the buffs. And then look, hitting 30 headshots grants 20% critical hit chance, 50% critical hit damage for 45 seconds. Hitting 60 body shots grants 80% weapon damage for 45 seconds. And then hitting 30 leg shot grants 150% reload speed for 45 seconds. And now buffs refresh when out of combat. So I want to see how this actually pans out, but this actually seems pretty good. The damage increase, 100% needed. I want to see where it lands up when you pair it up to like the Eagle Bear. And then the talent is actually pretty cool. I like that. Bullet King also damage increased by 2.6%. A lot of people enjoy the Bullet King, so they just tweaked it a little bit. The Nemesis, the damage was increased by 11.1%. The Nemesis was already hitting hard on a sniper build, so that's pretty impressive that we get to see that 11% on there. The Liberty added functionality to provide extra damage if you're trying to keep stacks. Full talent is now new. Hits grant 2% weapon damage, stacks up to 30. That's what I like. So now you're going to get extra damage. And remember in my video, I talked about that the Liberty needs something that provides some kind of extra damage. Hits grant 2% weapon damage, stacks up to 30. Perfect. And then the Liberty headshots consume all stacks, repairing your shield for 3% per stack. So what I talked about the Liberty, I said it was actually a really good weapon, but it would actually be feel more powerful if they added an offensive, and they did. Hits grant 2% weapon damage, stacks up to 30. Ooh, that's going to be powerful right there. So I can't wait to try out the Liberty. The Regulus, increase initial bullet accuracy, change the Regulus third attribute bonus damage to armor to headshot damage. So no more is it going to be damage to armor, it's going to be headshot damage. So most likely with pistols, that's what you're aiming for. So that headshot damage is going to be stronger there. Then we have the Merciless. The damage is increased by 12.5%, so it's getting a buff, a nice little buff on there. And then they added a functionality to provide extra non-explosive damage as well. Full talent is now the weapon fires on trigger, pull, and release. If both bullets hit the same enemy, gain a new stack. At 7 stacks, shooting an enemy deals 900% amplified damage and creates a 7 meter explosion, dealing 1,200% weapon damage, consuming the stack. So from 900 amplified damage and creates a 7 meter explosion, dealing 1,200% damage. So that is actually cool at 7 stacks. So that's really cool. I like that. I like how they did tweak it a little bit. So we'll see how this one actually pairs up. We have the Diamondback, damage increased by 7.7%. Text updated to clarify that the new target isn't marked until after the 5-second buff. So you have the extra damage. I would have liked to seen maybe like 5 extra bullets, maybe have like a 10 round magazine on that one, but they kept it at that, but they did add more damage. The Lullaby and Sweet Dreams damage increased by 11%. Lady Death damage increased by 18.9%. It's going to get stronger. The Chatterbox damage increased by 16%. The Ninja Bike Messenger Bag, Messenger knee pads added a functionality to add bonus armor. Yes, bonus armor. Full talent is now performing a cover to cover or volte reloads your drawn weapon and grants 25% bonus armor for 5 seconds. Definitely, this is a lot better than what it was, right? Because before it was just automatically reloads, but they are giving you 25% bonus armor for 5 seconds. So if you have 400,000 armor, which is kind of low, you get an extra 100,000. So that's why I think that's pretty cool. That extra bonus armor might actually be pretty good. So as long as you go cover to cover or you vault, you'll have that extra bonus armor for 5 seconds. This might need to be tweaked a little bit more to like 10 seconds, but we'll see once all the testing is done. Dodge City Gunslinger Holster added a functionality that makes you do headshot damage. Full talent is now, while your pistol is holstered, gain a stacking buff of 0.3 seconds up to 100. When you swap to it, your first shot consumes the buff and deals 10% damage per stack. This deals headshot damage to anywhere you hit. That's going to actually make whatever pistol you use hit really hard. So that's a really nice little buff they added to it. The BTSU gloves, they changed the functionality to no longer grant group raid-wide overcharge unless you are skill tier 6. So you need to be skill tier 6, and I guess the group has to be. So let's read what it says. Grants 15% hive skill haste per skill tier. Detonating a hive refreshes your skill cooldown and grants overcharge for 15 seconds if at skill tier 6. This effect also applies to all allies. So I'm assuming that skill tier 6 If somebody could test this out, everybody has to be at skill tier 6 to actually get that overcharge. Or if you are at skill tier 6, will that cause everybody to be? That's what I want to know. I think that's where they might have changed. Allies receiving this effect are unable to benefit from it after for 120 seconds. So they have to wait 120 seconds to get that. So I want to know, does everybody have to be a skill tier 6? Or if everybody is at skill tier 6, is that the only way? We'll see. Sawyer's knee guards. So these are the Sawyer knee pads. They added a functionality to continue to provide damage bonus move for a short duration. Full talent is now cannot be staggered by explosions. Okay. Increases total weapon damage by 3% each second you are not moving. Stacks up to 10 until you start moving. All stacks lost 10 seconds after moving. So that's really cool. So say if you have a full stack, right? And you move, well, you still have 10 seconds to have those full stacks. And that's great because a lot of times when you're in cover, you get shot or you get hit or you need to move because they're throwing a nade at you and you want to get to another piece of cover. Well, for 10 seconds, you still have that buff. And that means you can still move around, making it, initially you need to be in cover and not move. But as soon as you do move, you still have it for 10 seconds. I love that. I love that about the Sawyer knee pads. That's actually a pretty nice, smart. It keeps it in balance and it's actually cool. The Mantis changed the Mantis third attribute bonus from critical hit chance to damage the targets out of cover. And then the Ravenous. When an enemy with defensive primer stacks on, when an enemy with defensive primer stacks on them is killed, you now gain the benefit of those stacks without needing to detonate them first. That's actually cool. So I want to see someone test out the Mantis and the Ravenous. Maybe I'll get a chance to get on someone's account and test it out. So let's look at the chest talent for the Headhunter. They did buff some of the talents, the brand sets, so we'll go over those real quick. The exotics is really what I was focusing on. Let's talk about it. So for the chest talent, they're going with the Headhunter. The buff icon now shows how close to the damage cap you are, and then now properly caps damage to your current weapon when you weapon swap, damage cap lowered with the new functionality. So after killing an enemy with the headshot, your next weapon hit is within 30 seconds deals 125% of that killing blow's damage in addition to it. Damage is capped at 800% of your weapon damage. New. This is raised to 1250%, lowered from 1500% if your headshot damage is greater than 150%. So they tweaked it a little bit. I guess they felt that Headhunter was a little bit overpowered. Tweaked it just a little bit. I still think it's going to be a really good talent to run. Future Perfect, they fixed an issue with the overcharge lasting indefinitely. If you weapon swap, it is intended for the buff to remain when the weapon swapping, just not indefinitely. So perfect version of mechanical ammo, numbers adjusted. Weapon kills grant +1 skill tier for 19 seconds. From 18 seconds stacks up to 3 times, so you can still gain 3 stacks of skill tier. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grants overcharge for 15 seconds. And then overcharge cooldown 90 seconds from 80 seconds. So they raised the cooldown a little bit on that. Now for the gear sets, they did make some tweaks to the gear set. So we have the Negotiator's Dilemma. The damage value transferring between players was not scaled correctly. Previously transferred damage was higher than the initial damage. The original target look, damage transfers on the initial bullet that marks a new target. Fix some UI feedback bugs. Add a 15-meter range cap for the damage transferred while in PvP. So they wanted to tweak it a little bit because in PvP, you guys know, Negotiators was kind of crazy. The Foundry healing the healing of the set in PvP was not scaled correctly. Should now be more in line with the damage taken. The Future Initiative, the backpack and chest armor now have utility gear mod slots instead of defensive. Increased 2-piece repair skill bonuses from 15% to 30%. Increased 3-piece skill duration bonus from 15% to 30%. So they're buffing this one up a little bit. Hardwire got a buff to increase the 3-piece repair skills bonus from 15% to 30%. So that I think that actually make it where you can actually run Hardwire and be a strong healer. And then the Aces and Eights 3-piece headshot damage bonus is now additive rather than multiplicative. So they are lowering the Aces and Eights. It's getting a nerf because it was hitting hard, like crazy hard, especially with the new Headhunter and stack. They increased 3-piece headshot damage bonus from 20% to 30%. So just something for you guys to see. Aces did get nerfed a little bit. Some of the numbers were crazy with it. So it was only a matter of time. Brand sets, Alp Summit, increase the one-piece repair skill bonus from 15% to 20%. Another buff, a more common increase the two-piece repair skill bonus from 15% to 20%. R&K increased three-piece repair skill bonus from 15 to 20%. So it looks like a lot of the healing skills, they want people to start running healers, is getting a buff. Providence defense increased one-piece headshot damage bonus from 10% to 15%. Raw D increased the two-piece headshot damage bonus from 10% to 15%. And the Grupo Sombra increased the three-piece headshot damage bonus from 10% to 15%. So also they want headshot damage to be a little bit stronger. But my one thing I'm trying to see is, because the three-piece headshot damage bonus on the aces and 8 is now additive rather than multiplicative, does that mean that all headshot damage went multiplicative? Let me know, guys. Let me know. That's one question I did have for them. Okay, so the Reinforcer Chem Launcher UI has been updated to clarify the initial heal only affects allies, not the skill user. The functionality has not changed, so the UI is actually going to show you that. They did do some balance changes for PvP. Talents Efficient, reduce specialization armor kit bonus from 100% to 50%. Versatile, reduce the amplify weapon damage bonus for SMGs and shotguns from 35% to 25%. So I guess SMGs and shotguns were a little bit powerful with Versatile, just to put them more in line. So 2 little nerfs there. And then what was crazy that I saw was the skills: increased striker drone damage by 10%, increased assault turret damage by 20%, increased stinger hive damage by 75%. So I'm wondering if that's just initial damage, right? Not the bleed by 75%. The initial damage when they get hit, I'm thinking, but I'm sure people are testing that out. For PvE, they talk about the increased NPC resistance and status effects. Loot, this is something a lot of you guys were really looking at, the item power, updated item power, and distribution to better spread between minimum and maximum for all difficulties. So what I've been hearing about all this, the difficulty scaling, loot pools, crafting, the loot is actually very much improved in the PTS. I've been watching a couple people, and I've been listening, and I've been reading their tweets, and they said that they're very surprised how strong and how much loot you're getting that's actually worth it. Hardly any bad pieces. So I can't wait to see the final testing on the PTS. Remember, today's day 1. So it looks like you should no longer get that horrible loot, which is what we needed for the longest. And then they went to some bug fixes. But if you guys want to see the full patch notes, you can find it on the forums for Ubisoft.com. Let me know what you guys think about this. Are you guys excited about the buffs that all the exotics got pretty much? I don't think any exotic didn't get a buff. I think most of the ones that needed them got them. Even the Eagle Bird got the damage increase of 7.8%. But I'm excited to see the Chameleon's damage increase by 32.8%, plus the new buffs to everything. And then the brand sets getting buffs. So it looks like we got a lot of buffs. Buffs. A couple nerfs, a lot of buffs. And it's good to see them buffing more stuff than nerfing stuff, you know. But even as long as it's in balance, of course, but that's what I'm glad to see. Let me know what you guys think about all the PTS patch notes. Remember, these are the PTS patch notes. These can change depending on the feedback we get. So some of these may increase a little bit, some of these may decrease, depending on what they feel that the community says during this PTS. Hopefully we find out soon, and I'm excited for Title Update 10 to dive back into Division 2 and start grinding and having fun. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys in the next Division 2 video. Until then,